Song says, I long to fellowship with you. I long to fellowship with you, and I will follow you anywhere. Are you longing to fellowship with God? Are you longing to fellowship with God? Do you desire His presence? Do you desire His presence? Do you desire His presence? Say, anywhere you live, you will go. Anywhere you lead me, I will go. For you are the way, truth, and the life. Jesus, my life is for your glory. My life is for your glory. Except you build a house, the builders will remain. And you are leading out home, Jesus. My life is for your glory, your glory. Shinedumo, Shinedumo, Jesus. My life is for your forever, King forever, and ever you reign. Hamashiach, Lion of Judah, Adonai lifted higher, higher, be lifted higher. Jesus, you be lifted higher, higher, be lifted higher. Jesus, you be lifted higher, higher, be lifted higher. Jesus, you be lifted higher, yeah, higher, lifted higher. One more time, say, Jesus, you be lifted higher, higher, be lifted higher. And ask that the Lord be lifted high in your life. Jesus speaking says, if I be lifted up, I will draw all men to myself. Can you say, Lord, in my life, be lifted high. In my life, be lifted high. Father, be lifted high in my life. Father, we say thank you. In my life, Lord, be glorified. Be glorified. In my life, Lord, be glorified today. Can you just take that song once? In my life, in my life, Lord, be glorified. Please, Lord, be glorified in my life. Lord, be glorified today.
Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. We are welcome to the evening section for today, and quickly we'll be going into what we have, which is health talk. Would just like all of us here, because some things will be projected for us, so we'd just like every one of us here, including the choir, to occupy the seats over there so that we'll be able to go along. Quickly, please, and including ourselves here too. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we're going to be welcoming our guest speaker. She'll be leading us she'll be taking the health talk, and she's by name Mrs. Aishatu Yasmin. Please, Dr. Mrs. Aishatu Yasmin, I'm sorry. Please, let's welcome her. Thank you very much, ma, for honoring our invitation. Good evening, everyone. Very honored to be here today and give us, I'll say an interaction. Let's have an interaction on health challenges among adolescents and youth. I'll try as much as possible not to talk too much. I tend to talk too much a lot. So I'll try to minimize the talking and let it be more of an interactive session, so that I'll hear your views on this particular topic. I made it a projection, a PowerPoint slide, so that we can follow as I'm talking. All right, so my name is a very long sentence. I'm Atusu Adejumo Alithea Aishatu Yasmin. I have so many other names, but let's just stick to these ones for now. And I'm accompanied by my husband, came to give me family support. So I'm a medical doctor. I work with Usman Danfodio University Teaching Hospital. I'm in the pediatrics department. I'm a resident doctor there. Next slide, please. So this will be the next slide. Next slide. Okay. This will be the outline I'll be following today. running from introduction all the way to references and conclusion. So as a way of introduction, next slide, please. As a way of introduction, adolescence is a very interesting period. It's a transition from childhood to adulthood. It's marked by a lot of changes, both physical, psychological, and cognitive changes, and all these are due to the biological factors that occur in the human body. Today's generation of young people is the largest in history for very, very numerous reasons. Approaching adulthood in this particular world that we are now, it's quite challenging. And the lady was just looking at us like, video cassette. She said, oh, you mean the CD with tape? And I said, yes, the CD with tape. So it was at that particular point in time I knew that, yes, I'm getting very old, and there's a new generation behind me. So this the transition to productive, healthy, with the evidence that young people are not as healthy as they seem, that is why a lot of, even WHO, CDC, that is Center for Disease Control, they're bringing up more programs to face adolescent health. Yes, in the past currently we have a lot of programs for child health. We have under 5 nutrition, under 1 nutrition. We are currently in the World Breastfeeding Week, August 1st to August 8th, and that is celebrating breastfeeding. The theme for this year's celebration is breastfeeding for working mothers, trying to see how we can make working mothers actually exclusively breastfeed. It is if we are working to exclusively breastfeed your children because of all the benefits. So because of that adolescent period, we have realized that that's a transition to adult period, and we're trying as much as possible to see most of their challenges, see how you can help them, and basically their health challenges is topmost. If you can have very healthy adults, if you can have very healthy adolescents, we hopefully will have very healthy adults. Now in the developing country like we are, Nigeria, there are three major factors that affect this critical development stage. That's comparatively higher population of young people. Like I said earlier, we know that the fertility rate in Nigeria, Sub-Saharan Africa is quite high. And so that's part of the reason why we have children and young people. And because of this, there is this disproportionate burden on the youth, adolescents. Since they are more in number, their health problems too are also more and very challenging. And also the resources to manage this growing population. I think in economics they say the demand and supply. Resources are increasing in an arithmetic progression. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. While the humans are increasing in geometric progression. That's 4, 6, 8. So we can see that to get to the resources we have not be enough to cater for humans that we have on Earth. So during this stage of teenagers or young adults. Consultant of mine always say adult sense. Young people undergo dramatic changes like I said. It's very challenging. So adolescents at this stage of life, they're also experiencing a lot of moments of vulnerability. That's why they are so susceptible to impulsive behaviors, which end up affecting their health and causing some challenges for them. It's during adolescence that lifelong behaviors are set. Usually at the stage of adolescence, the diet is set. That's when what adult the youth at that particular stage most likely what they grow up to eat. We all know that most of us here, the friends that we are really close to right now are those that we actually met secondary school, university. As against we remember some of them, but we're not close to those in nursery and primary school. So that our adolescent stage really very critical. So these friends you have the ones down together, you have sorry. Can you go two slides forward? I forgot that I was supposed to forward. Sorry, not backward. Yeah. Thank you. So the friends that we have, we make the ones that we end up becoming business partners. We work with at the end of the day. So since it's a very challenging time, very important and good for us to have lay a very good foundation for their health at this stage. So adolescence can be divided in stages basically. Middle, the middle and late stage. The early stage usually goes aged 10 to 13 years. Basically, next slide please. Basically this stage is based it's filled mostly with changes at that particular stage. 10 to 13 years. If we notice, we have younger ones at home. Well, some of us also have kids. But we notice that around that age, 10 to 13 years, you can notice that boys they tend to just shoot up. Someone that you saw that was possibly at knee length. Next time you see him, almost taller than you. So there are these changes during that time. These 10 years, children are trying to discover themselves. The middle adolescents, those 14 to 16 years, this is marked with more of privacy and autonomy from their caregivers. This age group, these middle adolescents, tend to be the ones that they call the stubborn ones. They are always, they want to be in their room, they want to do a particular type of fashion design, they want to be in a particular clique, they won't listen to others. They are almost like the terrible twos, that's the 2-year-olds. When you say go, they will come. When you say come, they will go. Their own is to do the complete opposite because they are trying to show that they are growing, they are big enough, they can be on their own. And then the later phase of adolescence, that is the 15 to 19 years, this one is marked with more of higher cognitive processes and planning. Okay, we're not there yet, but we'll soon get there. This is marked by higher cognitive processing and planning. At this stage, they look at themselves as adults. They won't want to make the mistakes they made when they were 14 or 16 years old. So as a way of definition, we are using some of these terms interchangeably, but this will help us streamline how we use these terms, though they can be used interchangeably, but we'll understand it better. So adolescents are persons from between the ages of 10 to 19 years. A youth is a person between the age of 15 to 24 years, while a young person encompasses both the youth and the adolescent and is from 10 to 24 years. Now, as a way of definition, this is the WHO standard of definition of health. It's a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. A colleague of mine said, if we follow this definition, then nobody is healthy in Nigeria. Because even if you are physically and mentally stable, you may have pocketitis. You may not have money in your pocket. If you are socially and mentally okay, you may not be physically stable to actually go out and spend the money and socialize. So, but this is the definition of health. Then according to Webster Dictionary, the definition of a challenge is a stimulating task or a problem. In this context, I would like to say a problem. That is the problem, the health problems that young persons are facing. By way of epidemiology, thank you. This is important for us to just know some of these figures. Sometimes when you talk about certain things, if it doesn't translate to figures, to some of us, we don't really understand. By the time you say, many people have HIV and AIDS, you just look at them. But by the time they tell you, 1 in every 6 persons has HIV and AIDS, then it now dawns on you that, yes, there's actually a problem. So over 1.5 million people in the world are adolescents and young adults, aged from 10 to 24 years. And about 70% of these young people live in developing countries. So 70% of this 1.5 live in Africa. Sub-Saharan Africa, India, the Pacifics, majorly in our own environment. And so you can see that these health challenges will be more in our society, in our environment, especially faced with other challenges that we have. So from these statistics, they said 1 in every 6 persons is aged 10 to 19 years. So this is an interesting statistic. That's 1 in every 6 persons. So if you count 6 people, 1 is actually a young person. So we can have a grasp of how important their health is and why we have to keep it, why we have to keep them healthy. Young adolescents, that's those between the ages of 10 to 14 or 10 to 13, have the lowest risk of death among all the age group of adolescents. We may ask why. Because yes, they are just developing at that stage. They still listen to their parents. They still have more of parental guidance. So their risks for health death is actually reduced as compared to others. But we'll still see what causes their own death. An estimated 1.1 million adolescents die each year. That's a lot. And the leading causes so far are road traffic accidents, suicide, interpersonal violence. These are the leading causes of health challenges among adolescents. Millions of adolescents experience illnesses and injuries, and the cause could differ depending on the sex, the age, the geographical location. We'll see more on this when we talk about individual problems, health challenges. So in 2021, it was estimated that the probability of an adolescent dying or a young person dying was highest in sub-Saharan Africa, where we live, and lowest in Europe and Northern America for obvious reasons. Health-seeking behaviors, nutrition, we'll see some of them. The average global probability of a 10-year-old dying before the age of 24 is about 6 times higher in sub-Saharan Africa than in North America or Europe. So it's higher, besides the fact that yes, we have the highest number of youths or young adolescents or young people, the rate at which they are dying too is also high. So within this age group, like I said, yes, it's lower among them. So females generally have a lower mortality rate than males. It's not because I'm a female that this is there, but it's true for various reasons. Males are more adventurous. You will tell a female child, don't do that, it's harmful. The probability of her listening to you and sitting down one place is very likely. But you tell a boy, don't do that, it's harmful. How harmful is it? Are you sure it's harmful? Maybe it was when you did it that it was harmful. Let me try it myself. So by the time you have all these risky behaviors higher in males, of course, they will end up dying more than females. So it's estimated, let's come back home, it's estimated that 60% of Nigeria's population are under the age of 25. And so this makes Nigeria the baby of Africa. Besides being the giant, they are also the baby of Africa. So if we talk about individual diseases, those 10 to 14 years, like I said, they are still kind of like older children, older babies. So the death among them is more of infectious, as against risky behaviors like suicide and all that. Among older adolescents and young adults, it shifts to all these injuries, suicide, self-harm, and violence. When it comes to violence, wars, conflicts, usually the males are more affected. They are the ones that are sent into the world, sent to war. Yes, they are the ones that enter the battlefield, and definitely they will be more affected or they die faster. But when it comes to maternal conditions, the women are more affected. Teenage pregnancies, teenage abortions, and all that. That's why it affects the females. Now, next slide, please. Yeah. So these are some of the major health challenges. There could be a lot, but these are some of the major health challenges that we have among adolescents, and we'll just try and run through them. Next slide. Road traffic accidents. In 2019, 115,000 adolescents died as a result of road traffic accidents. Now, road traffic accidents, it could mean either they were the ones driving or riding the bike. Number that we are talking about. So the injuries from road traffic accidents could result in fall, depending if it's on a bridge, it could result in drowning if the person falls into the water, burns if the car gets burnt, and other reasons. Achievement of the Sustainable Developmental Goals, SDGs. For this, Sustainable Developmental Goals, SDGs. For this, I think we'll see a picture of it later on. So road traffic accidents, part of what causes it, a lot of adolescents, like I said, they have the risky behavior. They are the ones that are trying to get to one place and still texting while driving, trying to call a friend and all that, and they lose control. Majority of adolescents, if we see them even in town, they are the ones that will be trying to finish the speedometer in the car. Meanwhile, road signs will tell you it's 100 kilometers per hour, but no, they want to finish it and see whether actually the car will get to that level. So these are the reasons why they are more affected, road traffic accidents. Drowning is also among one of the top causes. Someone will look at this and say, drowning, why? Why will an adolescent drown? For so many reasons. One, if they have increased access to water, they'll want to try what is the swimming pool like, or what's the river like, what's the lake like. They want to try it, go into it. Those who are now exposed to drugs, those who are abuse substances, who are drunk, you have this mental idea of, oh, okay, that water, it doesn't look too deep. Let me just put my leg inside and test it. It's just like, I don't know, I see that some of us use glasses like me. Those of us that use glasses, when you go to test your glasses, one of the first times when you go and test it, they will tell you to wear it and try to walk. You see that by the time you are walking, it's either it looks like the ground is about to swallow you, or you are about to climb a mountain. So sometimes whenever they're under the influence, or when they see water, they tend to have this illusion and they want to test it out. Yes, males also are more affected in this situation because they will have more of the risky behaviors. They will be the ones that may most likely be high on drugs and other things. And then drowning, you may notice that we may not have a lot of issues of drowning down here in Sokoto. But yes, down south, where we have more water bodies, we have a lot of risk of drowning, especially among adolescents. Violence. Next slide, please. Violence. Interpersonal violence is among the leading causes of death among adolescents and young people, especially in the third world countries, in the places where you have low and middle income countries like South America, the sub-Saharan Africa. You're always fighting. Every time. Even here, even our brothers now in Niger, they're fighting. Guess most of the people that are going to be affected by that war? Adolescents and youths. They are the ones that are going to be recruited. So by the time we have more wars, we have more violence, we keep on losing our adolescents and youths to all this. In addition to violence, there's also, that's more of the physical. Also, we also have the sexual assaults that occur. Due to violence, there's increased risk of infections, sexually transmitted diseases. When there's a war in a country, nobody is thinking of going to school. They're thinking of immediately how to eat and how to face that violence. So there'll be dropout from schools. When there's war, you have people not living in their homes, so they are more exposed to communicable diseases, even non-communicable diseases. By the time you have somebody that was a little bit on the edge of almost getting hypertension, by the time you shoot a gun now, the hypertension will skyrocket and all this happen. Next slide, please. Alcohol and drug abuse. Now, drinking alcohol among adolescents is a major concern in many countries. We are very aware of this. It's higher among this alcohol usage and drug abuse is higher among adolescents. Initially, there was a time they said, oh, okay, 2 glasses of wine for males and a glass of wine for females is safe. Later, they said, no, if you just have 1 glass, if you just have little. Now, the current training or the current teaching is, don't even smell the alcohol. It is bad for your health. we can go on and on and on this particular reason. So as much as possible, try not to take alcohol. The prevalence of heavy episodic drinking among adolescents was as high as 13.6% in 2016. Of course, males were more at risk. And we know that with this was 2016. By now, this prevalence most likely has increased. Cannabis, marijuana, I don't know other names that it's called, but this is one of the most widely used psychoactive substance among adolescents. And the use of alcohol and drug also affects their behavior, affects their emotions, affects their academic performance. Next slide, please. Tobacco use. Sometimes we like to separate tobacco from alcohol so that we can actually weigh down on tobacco use. It may look like it's harmless, but it's very, very harmful. The vast majority of people using tobacco today started when they were adolescents. I have a couple of friends that the first time they just, let's just test it. And that is it. They're smoking up till now. They've smoked up to adulthood. And it's really, really killing people. The problem with most of these things is we do not know, especially in our environment, we know it's killing people, but we do not have statistics to back this up. I'm sure you'll be wondering, most of the statistics I'm quoting are those from outside the country. Yes, because in Nigeria, we are really poor at keeping statistics. So it said globally, in 2018, at least 1 in 10 adolescents aged 13 to 15, that's the quote and unquote stubborn group, use alcohol. It's safer, it's worse. They tell you, it has a filter. It doesn't have any filter. It's still as bad. Nicotine is very, very young, 5 years. But it doesn't mean that at 5 years it stops. It continues up to mid-teens, up to 13, 14, 16 years. So imagine someone that has been exposed to nicotine. Now, it's not only the person that is smoking, the person that is inhaling the secondhand smoke. That's even worse, because now it has gone into the first person's system, interacted with the system, and is coming out with more poisonous. So it's more poisonous substances. So it's not a matter of, he's the one that smokes, me, I don't mind. Both of you are smoking. That's the point blank truth. There was this new one my cousin's friend brought, stays in Canada. They say it's vaping. It's shisha that he puts in a vaporized container. And that's what he was inhaling. In fact, the first time I saw it, Bush Sokoto girl like me, I was like, is this a cassette player or something? Like, no, he's vaping, he's vaporizing. He was getting high constantly as we were looking at him there. Like, and if you take it from him, it's World War III you want to start. Next slide, please. Mental health. This is very, very important. Extremely important. In fact, it is now something that is coming more to limelight, especially in developing countries. Initially, you just stand and anything that happens, you lose a loved one, you have an accident, you lose a limb. How are you? I'm fine. Nobody cares to know, okay, don't worry, she said she's fine. It's fine, no problem. But it has affected your mental health. Depression and anxiety are among the leading causes of illnesses and disability among adolescents, and suicide is among the leading cause of death in young people aged 15 to 19 years. Half of all mental disorders in adulthood starts at the age of 14. This is very critical because most of them are not detected. Most of them are untreated. So as we are now, we have a 14-year-old younger one that could actually be going through depression, suicide, but you're just acting out. You're just being stubborn. And then this adolescent grows up to become suicidal, and you start wondering, when did it start? But he was so calm, it was so nice when you send him to do anything, but you don't know what's happening. So this mental health is very, very important. It's not only are you getting good grades in school, but also we should also check their mental health. So many factors can impact on the health of an adolescent. It could be from poverty. It affects mental. The hormones in the body become more. They become more pronounced, and then they now start having that smell funny. I had a family friend's daughter that when she started menstruating, her brother, so when she started menstruating, she didn't know what it was. So she would just carry her underwears and go and burn it. And we know how we can be interesting in school. By the time one person stigmatizes her today, tomorrow, continuously for a whole year or so, she won't know where to get help. And then that can affect her mentally, make her suicidal. And these are so many, there are stories like that that we've heard. And because of the affectation of mental health, it also affects the economy in a whole. If you're having people that are not well working, they are not doing the work to the fullest. They are just doing, let me just do it and get out of here. I'm even tired of the whole thing. So they will not be able to be as productive as they are supposed to be. And in all, it will not affect the whole economy, the GDP and everything of the country. Next slide, please. Communicable diseases. Communicable diseases. It's estimated that about 1.7 million adolescents currently living with HIV and AIDS as at 2021. And about 90% of this 1.7 million live in Africa. Well, we can imagine how bad that is. And because of all those risky behaviors, all those poor attitude towards poor health-seeking behavior, all this can affect their health. Because we had, as a doctor, I'll chip in some medical things. We had a clinic where we had a woman that walked in, very beautiful lady. She was, I think, about 21 or 22. Walked in and was talking with us. Oh, she's always falling sick, one here today. She has rashes here, she has this, she has that. Innocently, we said she should do a HIV test. And she did, and she came out positive. Guess what? Her husband actually knew. He was on drugs, but he felt that he was too scared to tell his wife. His wife would leave him. And it was in the hospital she now realized. Imagine that lady didn't come to the hospital. She keeps on going from one chemist to another, buying amoxil today, buying augmentin tomorrow, buying tetracycline, and ends up dying. We don't really do autopsy per se in our environment, so we don't know. Guess what? She has a child. And of course, you know what happened. She passed it on to the child. So these are generations that are breeding. Currently, according to the Sustainable Developmental Goals on I think that's SDG 6 or so, on HIV and AIDS, the goal is that by 2030, 90% of the world population should know their HIV and AIDS status. Of that 90%, the ones that are positive, 90% of them should be on drugs. Of that 90% that are positive are on drugs, 90% of them should have attained what we call viral indetectable level. That is, the viral load will be so low that it cannot be detected by any machine. So that's what we're working on in terms of HIV and AIDS. So it's really, really very bad. Tuberculosis is a preventable and curable disease. And children, as much as we may beg to not agree, but about 11% of them have tuberculosis. Like I said, I work in the pediatrics department. The thing about tuberculosis in children and adolescents is it doesn't show like normal tuberculosis in adults. Oh, he's coughing for 2 months. Oh, he's sweating excessively. Oh, he's losing weight. A child could just come with convulsions because the tuberculosis has actually gotten to the brain. It could be as bad as the child is just having skin rashes because the tuberculosis is in the skin. So in children and adolescents, it shows in different ways. So the index of suspicion has to be very high. You are in an endemic area with tuberculosis. Once you think of, you remove malaria, you remove typhoid, you remove all those common ones, also think about tuberculosis. Now, this third bullet may be interesting. Diarrhea and lower respiratory tract infection. You may be wondering, diarrhea in adolescents. Yes, that's those lower sort of things. They want to eat excess meat on Christmas Day and all that. And like I said, all these are more prone to low-income economics like Africa. Next slide, please. From what we call vertical transmission. That's from the mothers. A mother may be hepatitis positive. She may not know. She transfers it to her child. In an environment where they don't do the test, or she delivered at home and did not go to the hospital, she won't know. Guess what? You grow, hopefully, let's say the mother tried as much as possible to feed the child well. It's now when the child is maybe about 14 years old and he's in school and everybody wants to do something, and maybe they come to their school and let us all check your hepatitis status, and you check and the child is positive, and you now start wondering, where did he get it from? It was actually from the mother. Hepatitis is, in the medical environment, hepatitis is much more deadly than HIV, because if a drop of blood touches this table, if it's HIV positive, within 4 to 6 hours with air, oxygen, that HIV virus will die. But if a drop of blood touches this table that's hepatitis positive, come after 3 to 6 months and take a scraping, go under the microscope slide, you'll still see active hepatitis virus there that can still infect